Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Glossy Philosophy. My name is Jansen Binman. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up because today we are talking about a very important book called Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shetterly. So stay tuned. To say that Hidden Figures is just about 3 African American women breaking barriers at Langley during the NACA to NASA transition and sending men to the moon would be to ignore basically half of the book. Even in her epilogue, it is very clear that Shetterly left no stone unturned when it came to the telling of the tales of the many, many women who were right alongside our 3 protagonists. Now, Margot Lee Shetterly grew up in Virginia, and she grew up with stories about the women who worked at NASA and just the history of it all. But she found herself asking the question, why are these women not in history books? And is there more of a story to tell? As she spent 5+ years writing this book, she was astonished, as well am I, and I think most of the public, astonished to find out that it wasn't just like a handful of women that were able to get through the gates of Langley. It was close to 1,000, if not more, who worked as computers or engineers or so many women responsible for the mathematical equations that got people to the moon and back, and just normal everyday airplane travel as well. The weight of the responsibility of telling the tales of all of these women weighs heavily on Margot Lee Shetterly. You can just feel it with all of the information that she tries to pack into this book, where she tries to have 3 main characters, Mary Jackson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Catherine Goebel turned Johnson. But I really admire that she took time out of the telling of the tale of these other 3 main characters who are real women to tell some of the tales of these other trailblazing women. All the women mentioned in this book are incredible, brilliant, and remarkable for hundreds of reasons, but I did find myself falling in love really hard with one person in particular, and that is Catherine Johnson. If you've seen the movie Hidden Figures, which I confess I have not seen it all the way through, then get ready to amplify everything you know about Catherine Johnson. She is 10 times plus better than what is portrayed in the movie. She is fiercer, she is smarter, she is just an incredible woman. I wrote down a few of my favorite Catherine Johnson moments. So one is that she refused to use the whites only bathroom. She just went to the bathroom, whichever one was near, and it was never a problem until a few years after she had started working at the NACA, which would later become NASA. And when confronted with it, she was like, too bad, I've been using the white bathroom this whole time. And everybody backed down because that was the power of Catherine Johnson. She was so energetic and so good at her job that everybody loved her in her circle of engineers. And even though she was surrounded by men, and usually white men and maybe a few women, they kind of forgot about her skin color, which is remarkable during the 50s, the 60s, and even into the 70s. So much so that when asked if they had any African Americans working in that pool of people, they would stop and think, do we? And then of course they would remember Catherine Johnson and a few of the other women computers. But mostly I love Catherine Johnson because she was unstoppable and someone that anybody from any walk of life, any skin tone can look at and admire. There was a moment in the book when she couldn't get into a meeting that she really needed to get into because she was getting all of this information secondhand and she was trying to run these numbers, but something just wasn't adding up. So she asked, "Can I go to the meeting?" And everybody just looked at her like, what do you mean, can you get into the meeting? A woman has never been into a meeting. And she just keeps asking very nicely and politely, and yet with that Catherine Johnson conviction. And eventually they let her into the meeting, the first woman into a meeting of these very high profile men. And that is just amazing. I also love the story with John Glenn. He says it doesn't seem like he knows her name, but he knows about her. And he says if she runs the numbers and they're okay with her, then I will get in that plane and I will go into orbit. But if she says no, I'm not getting in that plane. So everything was really riding on Katherine Johnson, and she worked so hard to make sure that her numbers equaled what was going on with the computers, because they wanted to make sure that John Glenn was going to be completely safe. And then of course, we can't talk about Katherine Johnson without talking about her, again, incredible mathematical skills and her ability to work with others in getting people to the moon and back. At one point, she is even quoted with saying, "Tell me where you want the man to land and I'll tell you where to send him up." I mean, that's the kind of courage I want to have when I say something to somebody. Well, the book is filled with these incredible women who are breaking these glass ceilings and charging forth into men's world. I want to end the book talk with a few questions and some thoughts. While I was reading the book, one of my biggest frustrations, and definitely one of the frustrations of not only the author but also people reading this book as well, because she mentions it, is why have we never heard of these women before? Why have we never heard their stories? And I don't just mean the three main characters of the story, but any of these women. And for me personally, why did I never question where the women were during all of the history classes about space and NASA and mathematics in general? Why did it never occur to me that the women would be there? They're just not being written about. There's so many more stories that need to be told from this Hidden Figures book, from every skin tone, and I truly hope that others, many others, will pick up the banner and continue the research and continue to share all the incredible things that women have done throughout history, because the books are leaving us out and we are starting to just get the tip of the iceberg of the knowledge and the amazing things that women have done throughout history that have been covered up for whatever reason by the people who are writing our history books. My final thought that I want to leave you with from the book is, once you take the first step, anything is possible. Thank you so much for watching this Hidden Figures book talk. It is chock full of information about the history of the time, what's going on outside the doors of Langley, what's going on inside Langley. I love that for the love of mathematics and trying to win the war and then trying to get men into space, people came together. People were able to put aside their differences and come together and see past skin tone and see past prejudices of women and whatever their problems were with each other outside the doors of Langley. But inside, it really does seem that eventually everything just kind of melts together and becomes its own microcosm of celebrating math. I normally do fashion videos every Wednesday, beauty videos every Friday. On Friday, I'm doing this makeup look, which is not based on the cover, which I'm doing kind of for most of the other book talks, but more on the idea of space and the Milky Way and all of that. So make sure you tune in for that. If you are reading along with me, I have the next few months listed below, as well as previous months' book talks. So I hope you will join me for all of the 2025 book talks, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye.